Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Devy Huddle. The show will be live on this YouTube channel most Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Took a hiatus last week. Wasn't feeling very well, but we're back to talk about some rookie wide receivers. I'm here with some dashboard content creators as well as supporters. Gentlemen, are we ready to talk some rookie wide receivers tonight?
Sure am.
You know it.
Do it.
All right, so it is rookie season, but before we do that, I want to talk about two things in the news. As we know, the transfer portal is kind of winding down, right? But we got Jermaine Burton that kind of shocked everyone, is going to Alabama. And I noticed, Felix, thanks for joining us tonight. I know you posted something on your YouTube channel on Burton. I didn't have a chance pre-show to watch it. What were you talking about? Tell us your thoughts on Burton's transfer.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see Nick Saban do exactly what he did last season at the end of the spring game. You look at the end of that spring game in 2021. You look around, Alabama doesn't really have any deep speed. Well, after the national championship game, you look around and Alabama doesn't really have any deep speed. Corey Brooks is going to be outside. You would figure that a guy Hall would take Jameson Williams' spot, given that that's exactly what he did in that championship game. And then JoJo Earl is probably a one-for-one replacement for Slade Bolden in the slot. So, you know, Brooks and Hall are probably contested catch guys, not deep separators. And they didn't really have that element. Well, you go out and get Jermaine Burton, who in 2020 was the fastest, or 2019 was the fastest man at the opening, as a verified 4.43, speed, and was a deep threat, even though he was injured this year with Georgia, but he still had some splash plays. And I think, the game that really impressed me with Jermaine Burton, and I didn't say this in the video, but that freshman season when they played Alabama, you had Josh Jobe on Burton and you had Patrick Surtain on George Pickens. Pickens coming off that tremendous freshman season. Well, Stetson Bennett was going to targeting Jermaine Burton, because I don't know if it's because he just felt comfortable or he was trying to throw away from Patrick Surtain. But this is an SEC wide receiver who's explosive and now is going to go with one of the best, or the best quarterback in college football. And so we didn't even say the name Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think we saw that value bump with Jameson Williams last year. We could see it absolutely again this year with Jermaine Burton, who's a very similar player.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. I mean, anytime you can transfer to Bama, why the hell wouldn't you? Corey and I did a film breakdown really after his 2020 season on this channel as well. And we were both impressed with his ability and playmaking ability, his physicality and playmaking skills. So stock up for him, man. If you got him on your Devy rosters, man, congratulations, because you just have an asset that just really raised in some serious value.
Who has him in the Devy Deep Dive C2C?
Okay, all right.
I have been here already.
Okay. So I think I have a share or two, but all right. The other transfer news I want to get to real quick before we get to watching or talking about these wide receivers was the tweets that came out today about Khalid Williams possibly not going to USC, and was it Wisconsin? I was kind of trying to catch up before the show.
I didn't see that.
I mean, does anyone? I know, Tyler, you got your ear to the ground with all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's like a realistic landing spot, so to speak?
I don't see it. I don't know what he sees. I thought his whole goal was to set himself up to go to the NFL and be an NFL quarterback. And I don't think going to Wisconsin and surrounding yourself with the weapons at Wisconsin is necessarily the move. So
you could get those NIL deals with the cheese companies over there. I think some NIL deals could change your mind pretty quick.
Somebody was bringing it up in the chat a little bit earlier, though, that Paul Christ, the current head coach or whatever, he was the OC back when Russell Wilson was back with Wisconsin, right? And then when Russell Wilson was there, he was throwing 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, so 4 picks only. So I mean, it's not crazy. Maybe something could happen out of this. Wisconsin's always got a good O-line. You still got Braylon Allen back there, who's going to be making it easier on him too. I mean, they just need someone to step up in the receiving game. But I mean, it would be crazy. But I mean, it wouldn't be horrible, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. But I don't know what's taken so long. But I guess what's the rush? I mean, but I would think soon that it has to happen. All right, so we are going to get into these wide receivers. All right, we're going to talk about what we got going on here for, it's really kind of rookie season right now, right? We're all kind of focused on rookies, even though we're in Devy leagues right now. For me personally, for the next couple months, I really want to hone in. That's why we play Devy, is to really, for this purpose, right? To get guys on our roster to get to our NFL rosters. And so we were talking pregame show a little bit about the ranks here. So let me go through this show, or the what you're looking at here on the screen real quick. I got our overall ranks. These are ranks that are on the Devy dashboard. The overall and the rounds are also on the left column. That is really the ADP, really from the consensus ranks for all the contributors, not so much all the names here that are listed with their personal ranks, but nonetheless, the overall and the ADP is from our consensus ranks on the dashboard. So, we did running backs 2 weeks ago. So if you didn't get to see that show, feel free to go back and check that out. We did the same thing. And we're just going to really briefly talk about this, kind of go see where the discrepancies are. I think I can probably say for the group, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that the top three are pretty much locked in. It looks like Drake London is kind of maybe trying to wedge his way into the top three, but no matter really who you talk to, I think probably Burks, Wilson, Williams, and London in no particular order is, the first or second or third, in their own personal ranks. As you'll see here, I have Jameson Williams first, but the majority of everyone has Treylon Burks here. So Dan, I'm gonna let you start it off. You got Treylon Burks is number one. Why do you have him number one over the other guys?
I just think that Treylon is he has a special physique. I think he's one of those players that I like to target that we don't see come into the NFL a whole lot. We haven't really seen a size speed specimen like this guy since A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf came into the league. He's still a bit raw as a route runner, but we saw him do a lot more this year. When you get him in space, he's a freight train heading down the tracks, man. He is tough to bring down. He can make those contested catches. Again, the size, and I think his speed is really good. I don't know what he's going to run, but man, when you watch him running down the field, full speed ahead, he just looks like he's hauling ass. And he's just an exciting prospect to me. Just one of those guys those physical freaks that we don't see all the time. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, it's a lot of upside.
Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
No, I was just going to say it's a lot of upside, I mean, a lot of people want to harp on maybe it's just like the 1 year, but it really hasn't been the 1 year for Burks. I mean, even if you go back all the way to 2019, he still led the team in receiving, even without touchdowns. He led the nation, or was it like top 3 in the nation in kick returns? This guy was a versatile guy. He moves all along the lineup. There's still some rawness there, like he said. There's still some things to work on. 2020, we saw another big increase when Felipe Franks went there, which was nice to see. And then, of course, this year he just blew up with KJ Jefferson. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who like moved around the backfield like Tyreek Hill. Like sometimes they were motioning him all over the place. You could say 6'3", 225, but I mean, he moves around like someone who's a lot smaller than that. So I mean, I'm excited for his upside, and I think he deserves the spot at number one just on upside alone.
What do you think about a bigger Debo kind of a player?
Well, I think people comp him to that, and rightfully so, really, for the usage. The way San Francisco uses Debo out of the backfield, and screens and end arounds and handing him the ball out of the backfield. So, there's no doubt. I mean, Treylon Burks isn't a one-trick pony. I mean, he can get it done all over the field. So, he's got that versatility and size, speed combo. I was very happy because I was looking at 2 mock drafts today, and both of them had the Eagles at number 14 or their second pick in the first round, taking Treylon Burks. I'd be thrilled to have a guy like that to complement Devonta Smith, but we'll talk about landing spots a little later. But Garrett Wilson, Sal, you have him at number 1 in your ranks out of all of us. Tell me why you think Garrett Wilson deserves to be that number 1 guy.
Safe. I mean, he is, 3 years.
He's
done it. He's done it all there. He's a great route runner, gets separation. He's played in the slot. He plays outside. 3 years of production. His ADOTs are 11.6 this past year, 12 touchdowns. I mean, I think like Garrett Wilson is a safe number 1 pick, Where Treylon Burks, I mean, I know he's got a lot of talent. He's bigger, not by much, but I mean, 20, 25 pounds. But Treylon Burks has a little bit more wider range of outcomes, where I think Garrett Wilson's more the safer choice at number 1.
I can get on board with that. I mean, I can get on board with that. I mean, he's a good route runner. I mean, you're absolutely right. He's been super successful at Ohio State. So anyone else have any thoughts on Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, on Garrett Wilson, I mean, what was he? He was a 5-star wide receiver coming out going to Ohio State, verified 4.6 140, and a 35-inch vertical jump to boot. So that's all coming out of high school. That's excellent athleticism. I mean, he had an overall 100.449 spark rating. I mean, and, he's on the spectrum of wide receiver, including Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, that type of player. And quite frankly, I think that type of player ages well in the NFL. So I think that he's going to be a guy that you get. Maybe he doesn't have the touchdown ceiling that a Burks does, but he's going to be in the NFL for 10 years. I mean, so.
Mm-hmm.
To throw some cons in here, I think just when I was going through some tape yesterday and stuff like that, maybe you guys have some other opinions, but the only question I did raise watching a lot of his tape was a little bit of play strength. I saw a lot of falling down at the first hit. I didn't see him breaking a lot of tackles. I didn't see him catching a lot of balls through contact. There was one or two, few here, and occasionally late hands. A couple drops here and there, but he does have great hands. I mean, I didn't even put that as a con because, I mean, I put it as a pro that he had great hands, the leaping ability, those touchdown catches in the end zone. I mean, the hands are not an issue for me, but I did feel like maybe I didn't notice it as much before, but it was a little bit of a play strength, maybe an issue, maybe something I'm going to go back and take a look at a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, we can talk about Jahan Dotson. That's kind of why I dropped him down in my ranks a little bit for some of those similar thought processes. Corey, was someone else going to say something about Wilson?
I was just going to say that his body control is really fucking good. Perhaps the best in the class. When the adjustments that he makes on some of those throws is really impressive.
I just see like pure explosion when I watch Garrett Wilson. He's an explosive athlete. When he jumps, it seems like he's just up there like right now. It's not like a build up and get up there to high point a ball. He's just there. When he comes in and out of breaks, he rips right out of that break. That's how he creates separation. So that's how he. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say I would not be surprised to see him jump like close to 40 inches. I think he's got a tremendous leaping ability.
The other thing I think he does great is he's just that guy you dump the ball off to in the flat, throwing one of those little quick screens, and he makes people miss. He's explosive out there too. So
yeah, there was a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Something like what they do with Devontae Adams or Debo, but not the full range of Debo usage, but just that.
Yeah, there was somebody there's been a tweet floating around. Just there was 2 plays, in I think it was at the 5 or 6 yard line of this separation he created, and really put the defender in a defensive position. So he's definitely got that skill set. So I'll talk about Jameson Williams because I have him at number 1 right now. To me, they're all like 1A, 1-2, 1B, 1C in reality. But I was on with Dwight. We were talking pre-show, doing some great, real quick 12-minute preview players for the rookies on the Campus to Canton feed. So you should check them out. Dwight does a great job. And him and I on Saturday were talking, and he invited me to go on to talk about Jameson Williams, and I wanted to and he was asking me the same things, like, why do I have him number 1? And really, to me, it came down to 2 things specifically. Is number 1, I really think he's a technical route runner. When I did a full breakdown on him and really liked his space creation. But what I think really sets him apart is his speed with the ball in his hands and his explosiveness, after the catch. I think he's got some real ability where he can take it to the house really on any play if he gets any kind of crease or anything. So I know there's a lot of guys right now that knock Jameson Williams because he's only, the thing I get on Twitter all the time is, well, why couldn't he beat out the guys at Ohio State? That's a narrative that I particularly personally don't care about. All I know is what he did on the field this year in Alabama. And he had great receivers at Ohio State in front of him. So I don't think anybody transferring from Ohio State with who we had in front of him should be an argument as to why he shouldn't be ranked high or at least considered a top wide receiver in the draft. So, and I think he's a special teams contributor. I mean, I think we saw it in the championship game, the way he played, just, going down the field, the athleticism to get down the field first. I think his speed is the best out of all of these top three guys. And that's probably what leans him to me. But as we know, man, landing spots are going to play a role. Draft capital is going to play a role. I mean, they're all going to be first rounders, so that really doesn't matter. But it'll be interesting to see, if Garrett Wilson lands on Cleveland and Jameson Williams goes to the Chargers. I have a feeling we're going to know. I have a feeling we know who everyone is going to draft. So this is a very early exercise that we're going to have fun with, and we'll be doing this show many, many times leading up to the draft, and we'll definitely be doing one after the draft as well. So anybody have any other thoughts on Jameson Williams?
Well, the things that he was doing at Alabama, he was doing that at Ohio State, but just on a lower volume. And as good as that wide receiver core was for Ohio State, they still found places to get Jameson Williams on the field. I mean, remember the game against Clemson? He had a big catch against Clemson, and he held those. They had that 2020 freshman wide receiver class with G. Scott, Julian Fleming, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. He was holding them off the field. He was the fourth guy, but he was still holding that highly touted wide receiver core off the field. Brandon, he was one of my favorites too. Even at Ohio State, I talked to Alan True about him. Like, this kid has some real skill, and it's just IUC kids can make money in the transfer portal now by going to better landing spots where they can really utilize their talent. Because that's a really talented kid, and he's not the only one, stuck on a depth chart that could actually make some noise. Sal, we were just talking about Brennan Presley, even though he's another one that could make some noise somewhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about him. I only have like one share of the guy, Felix. So if you're in that kind mood and want to share, feel free to feel free to send me an offer after the show. Okay. All right. So we got Drake London coming in here at number 4 as far as overall in our ranks at the Devy Dashboard. He's been kind of a climber for me. Corey and I did a film. You can go back on this channel probably a year ago and kind of broke down his 2020 film. And, we thought that he needed to do some things to improve his game. He was basically a slot guy, but now he played X primarily in 2021 and really showcased his skills. I mean, a top guy. I mean, the guy was going to get the ball. Everyone knew on the defense he was going to get the ball, and they still couldn't stop him. So his production was undeniable for an 8-game stretch before he got injured. And I think he is a kind of a riser as we get to the draft, because there's so many archetypes like in here. You got Trey Burks, the big thick guy, fast guy. Then you got Drake London, who's 6'5", 210, something like that. So it's going to be interesting as these NFL teams have to decide who they want to pick, who's going to be the best spot for their particular offense. But anybody want to chime in on Drake London and why we think he could?
You mentioned Climber for Drake London, and basically that's what he was doing. I mean, he had, in the 8 games he played, he had 28 contested targets. But he got 20 of them, like 19 or 20 of them. I mean, that's all Keaton was doing. Keaton Slow was just throwing it up, and he was getting them every time. I worry sometimes when I hear somebody's a really good contestant target, guy. Does he get separation? But this year he played. I mean, I was satisfied. He satisfied me to move him up to wide receiver 4. He played on the outside. He wasn't just sitting in the slot. He was in the out wide like 86% of the time this year. He's done it for 3 years there, and he's just been successful every year, even with Keaton Slovis at quarterback. And you said it's pretty firm at 4 for me.
You said a key thing there, Sal, about him creating separation, right? That was one of the questions, and I think he proved all of us wrong, or anybody that doubted that he could. Man, he definitely created separation. He was able to find a lot of soft spots in the zones. Again, he showed more versatility, being able to play out wide. He's a physical guy, multi-sport athlete, basketball player, and you could see that in his game, man. He can box out, he goes up for the ball like he's going up for a rebound. And when he's in the open field, he's going to break some tackles, and he's going to make you pay if you're, a small cornerback trying to take him down in the open field. So I love him. I love everything about Drake London.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Yeah,
I was going to mention. I was going to say how physical he is. I mean, after the catch, he puts licks on defenders. He's tough to bring down too, especially because some people might think at 6'5", he could be a little light at 210. but I think he plays heavier than that, and he is a physical player. So, were you going to say something, Corey?
No. Yeah, no, I just want to say that I agree with Dan's take there, but Sal was mentioning the contested catches too. And this is something that I kind of went back and looked at. You know, I think I looked at Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Utah. Just last night, I went and looked over it. And, a lot of these contested catch situations were caused by underthrown balls by Keaton Slovis. I mean, you even watch it, and Drake London's got to step on the guy. And if the ball was put properly in front of him, if he didn't have to slow down and try to position, it wouldn't be as contested as it was. I mean, I think he's got a great first step off the line. He shoots off the line. I mean, we're going to talk about David Bell here quickly soon. And I think that they're both off the line is vastly different. I mean, his first step off the line, great burst, great footwork. You see him dazzle guys right at the beginning, and the physicality. I mean, he's able to plow through people to make a nice catch. He forces missed tackles. He's deceiving during the stem of his route, head fakes, whatever. I mean, a very physical blocker. This guy climbed for me a lot. And like you said, we did a 2020 review on him, and it wasn't necessarily that he was out of the slot and we wanted to see him outside and whatever. It was the fact that this guy did not face press at all. All the touches were manufactured. He was getting all these little flip outs to the side, these little screens and stuff like that. So we wanted to see more from him. And I don't necessarily think that we were down on him. We just needed to see more. And I think he went above and beyond with his answers this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So he's definitely a riser. And when we're done going through here, I got some mock draft results and stuff like that we're going to kind of chew on. So we're going to see where these guys in the eyes of the mock drafters are going. So, all right, we got David Bell coming in here at number 5. I have 6 listed, but it is number 5. He wants to talk about David Bell. I have not watched a lot of David Bell tape. He's one guy that I haven't gotten to yet, so I haven't watched a lot of his 2021 film. There's a couple other guys I have here in front of him, but anyone want to thoughts on David Bell? I don't see him getting first round draft capital, so we may be a little high on him compared to some of these other guys.
Yeah, he's a guy at 6'2", 205 that I feel like plays at like he's 6'3", 225. He plays more like Burke's size, but like the typical guy you would expect to move like that size. I don't find him extremely quick in short areas. I don't find his burst extremely good off the line. His finishing speed, there's a lot of times you see him catch from behind, but that's a lot of the negatives. Okay, he does have good size. He has the production that blows people away. He's got great hands. I saw some great adjustments on balls, able to find the soft spots in zones. He works hard to maintain being a target for his quarterback. There's a lot of plays that I saw that were broken down, and he stays active, trying to create easy targets, coming back to the ball, creating nice angles. So I feel like he knows some of his limitations, and he's able to excel in spite of them. So, he's a decent route runner. He gets a lot of people to bite on his double move. A lot of guys kind of played off of him. He got some easy catches on some slants and stuff like that. But I'm not completely sold on Bell like a lot of people are. I could even see myself dropping him a little bit from this number 6 ranking. But to me, he just seems like he's a good receiver, but not somebody that's going to blow me away.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at David because David Bell, he had like 26 contested targets too. So was that more the quarterback, or was that more on him, or
a little bit of both? I guess I just looked at.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to see on Drake London. I went specifically to kind of look towards that. David Bell was kind of more of a quicker look, and I didn't pay attention as much to as the quarterback play, but he is the DBs are in his hip pocket a lot more often than I would say Drake London.
Yeah, no, I see that. I don't see David Bell rising higher than 6, but based on the pro day and based on draft capital, I could see him falling below 6, where I can see Pickens and Olave bump up based on those things.
If you were to set the over under at 4 or 5, I think somebody put 4.55 for David Bell. You think he's going to go over or under?
I have no idea.
4 or 5 as far as receivers go. Oh, go ahead, Felix.
No, round 4, wide receiver 4 or 5, or 4.45 in the 40?
4.55 40. Sorry, I should have.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think that he goes over because the player that he reminds me of is Tyler Johnson. When you talk about a wide receiver who has kind of instincts, and we all see this productive, but is the NFL going to be high on him? That's really the question. I haven't watched a lot of David Bell either. It's just, when I do watch it, I'm like, okay, that was a nice catch. But, I've never been impressed by these catch radius plays, you know, where guys get up and because I just don't know if that's necessarily translatable. One guy that reminded me of that last year was Tylan Wallace, you know, a guy who could really go up and get the contested catch. And I'm not saying that David Bell is that. I'm just saying, you know, when I see that, I think it makes for a good college wide receiver and not necessarily a potential fantasy asset for us in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the only thing David Bell has going for him over the Tylan Wallace last year was his physicality, though. I think I think the physicality David Bell brings to the table is I think going to get him maybe on the field a little quicker if he makes it at all. Than Tylan Wallace, I always felt was just an outside guy that he was a contested catch guy.
I don't know if I remember this right, but with David Bell, when Wandale came back for a little bit, did David Bell kind of take a step back and Wandale had some big game or two or something?
Don't know for sure, but I could see that. They manufactured a lot of touches for David Bell this year. I mean, it's Purdue. He's their guy. He's what they had. I've got him at 8, so I'm the lowest on him here. I like him as a player. Just NFL receiver, but he doesn't do anything great to me. He's a smart guy or a smart player. I think he sticks as a decent number 2 option for someone, but I like some of these other guys better. I like the top 8 a lot, though, so even having him at 8 doesn't mean I'm out on David Bell.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes on David Bell. He did produce. The production was there. You know, he caught a lot of balls this year. Last year, he was pretty heavily involved in that offense as well. He did come through in some clutch moments, if I remember correctly, this year. A couple of games that they were in, can't remember who they were playing, but they beat, somebody they weren't supposed to beat. My memory's not there right now, but he made some clutch catches and some clutch moments, and he's kind of that safe guy, kind of like what Sal was talking about earlier with Garrett Wilson. He's like a poor man's version of that sort of safe, like wide receiver 2 type that a team could invest in the, late second, early third round, somewhere in that range. So I like him. I don't love him.
Yeah, I think that's where he goes. Let's keep moving along. So we'll go to George Pickens here. Going to be really interesting. Can't wait to see where this guy lands. I've got him. I actually switched David Bell and Pickens. So I got Pickens at 6 in my ranks right now. I love the kid. I've always loved the kid. He was the first film I ever made when I started this YouTube channel 2 years ago. And I think he brings the physical traits. I just was really disappointed he tore his ACL. And I just wonder where we would be talking about him if he had 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns for Georgia. Although, with Stenson, I'm not sure that would have been feasible. But nonetheless, if he would have had the production, I think a lot of people are worried about his knee. I think a lot of people are worried about his intangibles. I'm not. I'm hoping, when he goes to the pro day or he goes to his the combine, he interviews well, and those intangibles that I talk about all the time aren't a concern. But I think, if he's physically fit, I think he's got all the skills. I think he's one of the most physical receivers in all of college football coming out in the draft. I know a lot of people kind of question his release and separation. That's one thing I want to kind of, in the limited film that we have in 2021, that's one thing I want to go back and take a look at. But I mean, he had that spectacular catch, in the championship game. I mean, he showed the athleticism, reaching out and making the grab. And I think he could be an undervalued target. I've got more shares of probably Pickens than anybody on this list. So I hope the hell he pans out.
Yeah, and you could tell he wasn't really 100% in that game. I don't think he was going full go. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this guy at one point was my wide receiver 1 in this class. I mean, the physicality, the everything. I mean, it to me, it's shades of AJ Green. I mean, it's the helmet or whatever, but I don't care. But it's shades of AJ Green with the way the body control, the hands, and everything like that. But like you said, you were talking about the separation. You're talking about the release. The one note that I have on him is that he does take plays off sometimes. He gets lazy. If he's not the primary target, maybe he doesn't give the fastest release. Maybe he doesn't give the most effort. He almost gave more effort blocking than he did on some of the routes where he wasn't being targeted. So that was the one thing. And then, of course, everyone wants to point to the immaturity, the water bottle, and everything else that he's kind of gone through. But other than that, I've seen some great releases from him. I think he's got it. I think he's got that in the bag. If he can just get his head on right, and kind of focus and give a full effort on every play. The body control, the catch radius, the spatial awareness, the corner of the end zone, the sideline, everything, like the way he can keep his feet in. I mean, this guy is making NFL catches. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, so I think that this guy could climb if he pops healthy and he tests well. I mean, the testing is going to be the big thing, but it's a different age with ACL. So let's see. I'm happy with this spot here, right in the middle, because I think he could maybe lower or go higher, but I'm hoping he climbs higher.
All right, let's talk about Jahan Dotson. Anyone want to talk about Jahan Dotson? We don't have Rich here he would have taken this guy.
This is a player that I'm going to be targeting. I mean, I think that he's going to go on day 2 and he's going to be, a late mid second, somewhere around there. But we saw the games that he had against Ohio State, in 2021? 2020, the shortened season, the one-handed catch. Yeah, the one-handed catches. But even this year, I mean, just look at his tremendous ball. I guess they call it ball skills. And when the ball is up in the air, he is going to go up and get it. And some of these catches are difficult because he'll have defenders around his feet or ankles, and there's something to distract him from the ball. But his concentration is just excellent. I know that he's a little bit smaller. We wonder how fast he is, but I just think that he's a really good football player. And it's some of the same descriptions. I mean, you gave some of the same descriptions, Corey, for George Pickens, and I feel like Jahan Dotson has some of the same characteristics as far as, he's just a good football player, but I also think that he has a home. Like, I think that Jahan Dotson could just be your slot wide receiver and you just use him that way. So, somebody that I'm targeting when I still play in dynasty leagues, he'll be someone that I target in the second round.
Felix, I agree with you. I just did one of my rookie profile films on him and completely broke down his tape and did a solo show on him. And you're absolutely right. The ball skills, the body control, the adjustment in the air to get the ball and he comes down with it. I don't think he dropped a pass. I read a stat somewhere where he hasn't dropped a pass over 20 yards in his college career or some crazy shit. So, he's got the sticky hands. My thing that I looked at, again, trying to think of my main priority when I watch wide receivers is just space creation. I just didn't feel like he created a ton of space. Like, I just didn't see him as an elite route runner, like a technician, somebody who had the technique. I mean, he kind of had a lot of soft coverage and kind of, worked some zones and stuff, but I didn't see a lot of a player who just, was a technician in the route tree. So that's my only thing that I came away with. But other than that, I mean, his production was good. His ball skills were good, his hands, and he's got the speed. He's got the yak ability. He's not a blazer, but he's not, slow either. But just wondering again of that physicality of the NFL, it's something they can always develop into, but that was just the route running. I just thought there were other crisper route runners like the guy we're going to talk about next.
Hey, before you guys all continue, I just want to say I got to get out of here, but it was a pleasure talking with you all. You guys take it easy.
All right,
have
man.
a good night.
All right, Corey. Appreciate you,
Take
man.
it easy, guys.
Anybody? All right, so let's talk about Chris Olave. It looks like I'm number 4. I've got him. I'm probably higher than most guys. I know a lot of people, again, the analytics crowd are worried about he came back for his senior year, so that knocks him down a notch. But he doesn't for me. I mean, I can see a lot of you guys don't have him. You have him closer to the, later part, but I think this guy is going to get the draft capital. I think he's a route runner. He's a space creator, and he's got good hands. And I don't care about the fact that he came in 3rd after JSN and Wilson. I just don't get too hung up on that kind of stuff. I look at more the skill set of these players, and I think that he's going to be one of these just solid, good wide receiver 2s. He can get open, he can create space, and he's got good hands. And I think he's got enough physicality, but he just reminds me of like a poor man's Jefferson with the way he gets open and, with the ball in his hands, he can take it to the house. So I think the guy, I think he's just been around too long and people want maybe something a little bit more exciting, but I think that he's a little undervalued. I know a lot of people just are kind of off him because he came back his senior year, but I think he's going to be a great value in drafts. He's going to get 1st round draft capital. I don't care what anyone says. I think he's going to be a lock for a day 1 pick personally.
Yeah, you're probably right, Brandon. I'm probably too low on him, admittedly. I'll probably have to go back and look at that some more, look at some more of his film, and he'll probably move up in my rank, especially if he gets that 1st round draft capital, like you said. But I don't know. I can't really place it. Honestly, I can't. It's just something when I watch him, just there's something that's missing. It just nothing really wows me, and it just, again, it's just kind of, maybe it's an intuition thing. I just don't get excited about Olave. Maybe it's what you were talking about, being, coming back a senior year. We've seen it so much and not being able to outproduce the two other guys, but I'm definitely going to give it a fair shot and look a little bit closer. And like I said, it'll probably end up moving up for me.
Well, Daniel, I just want you to understand that there are other players out there other than Pickett. I mean, so, it's
Are you sure?
I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So, Sal, it looks like you got him, and Tyler, both you got him kind of higher than the consensus. Do you see what I see, or what are your thoughts?
I know, I agree. I mean, 3 years of production at Ohio State. I mean, what
He's like breaking all-time records.
Anybody else? What do you want? Like Breece Hall, and I mean, on for running backs, where they're kind of bumping him down a little bit. I mean, he's a downfield threat. If teams are, like what did you say, a poor man's Jefferson?
Mm-hmm.
I think I could definitely see that. And I mean, he's playing at a Power 5. He's, this year he got 65, 936, 13 touchdowns, 14, per catch. What do you want? I mean, it's Ohio State with two other guys there. He still was getting 65 targets and 65 receptions and almost 1,000 yards. The one thing, I mean, he's downfield threat, but his yards after catch weren't too, were a little bit, I think it was like 4 or something. It wasn't as high as some of these other guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
play strength is one of his weaknesses.
What was that?
Said play strength is definitely one of his weaknesses after the catch. If you get your hands on him, he's not a guy that's
doesn't break tackles. Or yeah, but if he's catching the 25, 30, he's catching the 15, 20-yard catch for my number 2 guy, and he's not breaking, tackles. If he goes down after 1 or 2, he's not going to be a wide receiver 1.
Right.
But as a wide receiver 2, yeah, you could do worse.
I think my problem with Chris Olave is what position does he play? So he's probably not your boundary wide receiver. Those guys tend to be a little bit bigger or have, ridiculous athleticism. Think of Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think that he's a slot wide receiver where he's going to get you, somebody who catches 10 balls. So that means he's going to be lined up all the way out at flanker, far away from the ball. Those guys, sometimes they stretch the field and do other things, but they are oftentimes the second or third read on a play, just by virtue of being farther away from the ball. So that's what I think that he profiles as, and I think it's dangerous to invest. Like I think Wandale Robinson should definitely be ahead of Chris Olave. And I know that you think that, Brandon, I know you think that Olave is going to get first round draft capital, but to me, Wandale Robinson is, a guy again who's just going to be, just plug him in your slot wide, assuming he's more than 5'7", the 5'7" guy.
That's the question.
That might be an issue, but I think that Wandale Robinson is just going to be perfectly situated to, roam over the middle and get open quick, and be one of these players who gets 8 catches for 70 yards some games, and you're like, yeah, I mean, he had 8 catches for 70 yards, but that's 15 points or whatever it is. Whereas Chris Olave is going to be a guy who can go weeks getting you a 0 just by virtue of what position that he plays. And I think that Wandale Robinson might be a little bit safer, especially if some team decides to use him in the backfield the way Nebraska did.
Yeah, Wandale wows me. If we're moving on to him, man, he's fucking electric in the open field. It's some of those human joystick moments, his movements in the open field. Being able to create a whole lot of space for himself in the open field, and then the yards after the catch is just really impressive. I agree with Felix on that. I would rather, if I had an NFL team, which I clearly don't, I would rather have Wandale on my team, assuming he doesn't come in at 5'6". That's the big question.
I got to jump back to Olave real quick and talk about the production concerns from this year. Everyone looks at the raw stats. Yeah, he was a little lower than JSN for sure. But you look at the games played, and Olave and Wilson both missed games. So you look at the games all 3 played, and they come out a lot more closely if you look at just those 9 games where all 3 guys were healthy and on the field. Olave and Wilson both had 12 touchdowns. I think Wilson was top in yards, but Olave was within 200 there. So they're all right there at between like 900 and 1,100 yards. So I think the production's overblown for his senior year. You want to see more, I get it. But I agree with Brandon. He's got that elite separation ability, and he's got that one trait that's going to help him win at the next level, and it's his ability to just break guys off and win on a route.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about space creation. To me, it's, I've said the same thing over and over for wide receivers. You can't make it in the NFL. If you don't make it in the NFL, there's two things wrong with you. Either you can't get open in practice or you're not physical enough. So that's kind of like my little thing. But go back to Wandale Robinson. Look, I just put a film of, I'm assuming, Dan, you saw my rookie profile film on him.
Absolutely.
You know what's really he got going for him too? I call him like a poor man Waddle. He's the exact same size as Waddle, but
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
What I liked about Waddle was his physicality, and you can see that with Wandale Robinson, fighting for every yard afterward. My concern is just the height. The 5'11" receivers, are far and fewer in between in the NFL, and Olave's 6'1", so I think he's got 3 inches on him, and Olave's 193 pounds or something like that. So it's not like he's a lightweight. I mean, I can understand the play strength concerns. I mean, regardless of your size, you got to be strong either way. But as much as I like Wandale Robinson, I just can't put him above Olave in my ranks. I just think Olave is a better, like a wide receiver. Just his size is, where he's coming from, and we all get all hung up on production, and I don't hear anyone ever talk about Wandale Robinson's lack of production when he was at Nebraska. So, I feel like it's a narrative that's, used when it's convenient, but, people shouldn't be all excited about Wandale Robinson if you're all hung up on production and where you were previously. I mean, he was productive at Nebraska, but I mean, we all know when he transferred to Kentucky, I mean, he just exploded. So I love the kid though, man. I love the kid. I'm just concerned, you go in, like I said, you look at all the height of a lot of the receivers in the NFL, most of them are over 6 feet. And if he does come in at 5'9" and he's like a Rondale Moore size, I mean, that's where, as much as Rondale Moore was electric and all of that, size matters when you get to the NFL to some degree, unless you're just a super elite, specimen like a Tyreek Hill. But he's a unicorn, and there's going to be no one else like him for a long time. So, but
I'd be ecstatic if Wandale came in at 5'9", because I'm just scared that he's 5'7".
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is Waddle? Isn't he what 5?
He's 5'10".
Yeah,
he's
so
5'11".
I mean,
It's 5'10". You're like,
look at Devontae Smith. He's a smallish guy, right? I mean, his weight's, I think he's 6 foot, but we see some smaller guys in the NFL produce, and historically speaking, we've seen quite a few. So, yeah, if he comes in at 5'9", I'm with you, Felix. I'm still in. If it's 5'7", I'm not out, but I have more questions.
Yeah, 5'8" or lower, I'm out for Wandale. I love Wandale, but if he's not 5'9" or 5'10", sorry.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We're gonna see. All those, the tweets will be coming out at the combine. You know what I mean? Where all the heights and every player's measurements gets tweeted out all over the place. So it should be interesting. So, so I put Sky Moore in here. We had Khalil. Shakir. Yeah, we had him kind of 10, and we had 3 guys in our ranks that were really here. But I wanted to put Sky Moore in here because I just downloaded the film on my thing, but I haven't cut it up or anything yet. Me and Corey are going to be doing a film breakdown on him, and I have not watched him. I know he's like around 5'11". He's like almost the same size as Wandale Robinson, I think. I really haven't dug into his tape, but I mean, as soon as this guy declared, it's like in everyone's top 10. So I can't wait to dig into his film a little bit. So another guy who's, from a smaller school, who's on the smaller side. What do you guys think? Who here has watched Sky Moore in detail? Because I'm not going to lie and pretend that I did when I didn't. So I haven't gotten there yet.
I think very few have watched Sky Moore in detail, but if you're in C2Cs, if you are in college fantasy, this is a player that you kind of just put in your lineup every week because of how productive that he was at Western Michigan, Kalamazoo stand-up. I used to run the stairs at that stadium before they kind of became a bigger program. But, I mean, this is how production begets opportunity, which begets draft capital, which is why people should be playing in C2Cs. Sky Moore was like a fantasy wide receiver 1, and lo and behold, now same with Jalen Tolbert. Where production is getting opportunity. Guys that you would just plug into your lineup, and now lo and behold, we're saying that he's going to get better draft capital than Dwayne Eskridge. Dwayne Eskridge went in the second round
to Seattle,
Yeah, if you have Sky Moore in a C2C and he goes in the second round, I think you're going to be ecstatic because it wasn't something that you were expecting from him. He was just a guy that you were plugging in every week.
Well, that's certainly true, and that's great when the value hits. But the question is he going to make it to our dynasty roster and be a reliable contributor is going to be the question, right? So,
you're in the range now with these receivers, where it's, pick one kind of a thing,
right?
At this point, could be Tolbert, South Alabama, could be Sky Moore, John Mechie. I know he might be a little bit lower.
Yeah, I actually have Mechie at 10 myself. I'd rather take a shot on Mechie than Sky Moore at this point in the process. That could change.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring up a thing here. So I got this off mockdraftable.com. All right. Now it's the NFL mock database.com. I every morning when I drink coffee, I watch this damn thing and I read like the latest. I'm a mock draft like hound, right? I love watching mock drafts. I like just seeing where everything goes. So this is right now, I think it's one of the premier sites when they break down mock drafts, but every mock draft that's out there, like Zach Batrall from SI, his one just dropped this afternoon. It's the first one on the list. So what they do is they just accumulate it's a draft ADP of wide receivers. So I wanted to share this and thought this would be an interesting thing to kind of show everybody at the end of the show here, just where everybody is kind of going. There was John Mechie, there's Shakir up there at number 11, Sky Moore, Justin Ross is another very interesting player. Of course, he has the neck injury, he, lost the production after his freshman year. He kind of tailed off, but he's a wild card. I mean,
talk about polarizing prospects.
Yeah, exactly. Calvin Austin, a great C2C player, but I'm not sure is too small. So Christian Watson, I don't even know who the hell he is.
He's a North Dakota State.
He's been getting some hype lately. There's been some hype pieces out about him.
Yeah.
I know nothing virtually about him except that he's getting that hype.
So you can see here, that anywhere the top 6 looks like they're getting draft 1 capital, right? Going all the way to Dotson. So we're looking at least from this database, from this accumulation of data that, David Bell's going to start the second round. It looks like Pickens is the second round. Wandale Robinson is borderline first round, where you can kind of see where, it's going to be who's getting day 2 draft capital. So you're absolutely right, Sal. I believe with you. I think after the top 4 or 5, it's going to be whatever your flavor is, and the draft capital is going to matter. Landing spots are going to matter, and it's going to be a blast, man. That's what this whole fun exercise is all about. We're getting an early look here.
Yeah, I don't know much about real fast. Christian Watson, he's going to the Senior Bowl, so
he is.
Yeah, he is going to be going to the Senior Bowl, so you can take a look.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be watching for him for sure. Keeping an eye out. I find it kind of interesting that in a lot of mock drafts that Treylon Burks is, the 3rd, 4th, 5th wide receiver off the board. He typically goes first round, but I just find that interesting. I feel like somebody, I think there's at least a 50% chance that he's the first wide receiver off the board, but could be wrong.
What was Jonathan Taylor? The 3rd or 4th running back off the board in
after CEH.
So
after CEH,
after DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, Swift
before Taylor.
Yeah. So absolutely, man. That's just because you're drafted first doesn't mean shit. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen. So it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. We got 3 months? We got 3 full months to grind film, guys. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be any final thoughts here before we say goodbye to everyone? Anyone have any guys that aren't on this list? I'm going to go with one guy that I'm in the middle of doing a rookie profile film on. Kyle Phillips, a UCLA wide receiver, smaller guy, slot guy. I like him. I think, everyone's into Wandale, same size as Wandale, that, he's kind of that smaller guy. But he was super productive for UCLA. I did a film on him when he was a sophomore and just really liked his game. He's going to be not one of these flashy guys. He's going to be a guy that'll be drafted, day 3 without a doubt. I think he's going to be one of these workers and one of these guys that, gets on the field like that kid from the Raiders. What's his name? The guy that's surprising all of us that no one ever thought in a million years would be.
Renfro?
Renfro.
I was going to say Zay Jones.
Yeah, so like Renfro or one of these guys that kind of just emerged. I mean, he's my dark horse deep sleeper, Kyle Phillips of UCLA. So anyone else have any deep sleepers they want to throw out there before we say goodbye?
Got Tyquan Thornton at Baylor. He had some good production early. He had some injury issues, but he's 6'3". And he's got track speed, like legit track speed. He's not just fast. He's track speed fast.
Track speed fast.
So you got some plays on film where you see him catch that slant and he goes 60, 70 yards easy after the catch. So
nice.
Yeah, he's got some polish to put on his game, but he's a guy that I'd like to stash.
Cool.
Yeah, he had a good year, and then he had a big injury, and then he came back. And just Baylor was going that route with the running backs this year with what's his name?
Abram Smith.
Yeah.
Smith,
so, but I like Tyquan, but I don't know. He could. You never know.
He's done a little more than the old Baylor receivers that ran 3 routes all the time, too. They not a lot, but more than the Corey Coleman kind of guys.
All right, Felix, are you on Twitter or are you scanning your ranked 11th to 20th wide receiver, picking giving us a name? Give us a name, Felix.
I don't have a name yet for you, and I'm not just going to throw one out there. I don't have a name yet, so I'm going to have to come on next time to give you a deeper name.
Yeah, no worries.
I mean, Tamarion Terry was the guy I was fighting for last year.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize he was a murderer or allegedly.
Right. I'll just say, 2 guys on this list that we didn't touch on real quick. Romeo Dubes and Alec Pierce are 2 guys that really intrigue me. Dubes is pretty electric guy, deep threat, can create space, and Pierce is pretty physical, kind of a physical receiver, able to make contested catches, able to create some separation. I liked what I saw from him. I haven't gone deep into it, but those 2 guys were interesting.
Pierce is one of those guys that's on like the Bruce Feldman freak list. It runs like a 4.45 and has a 40-inch vertical.
Right.
He's a pretty big dude, so
blow up the combine.
Some intrigue there.
Nice.
Yeah. If Tolbert and Shakir get good landing spots, they definitely would rise up on the list. Those are 2 guys who have some interest. But as far as real deep guys on that right, behind like Dubs, Mechie, I like more, but nobody else really.
I don't understand the love for Tolbert. He was the first rookie profile film I did, and if you haven't seen it, I'd go back and look at it. I don't understand what the hype is with him at all.
For who?
As far as Jalen Tolbert, with the separation and everything. There was like nothing I saw on film that made me think he was a wide receiver like to the NFL. I'm just being honest. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Well, Dwayne Eskridge, you got that capital, and he got.
Yeah, but I mean, is he ever going to be anything?
He's irrelevant on that team right now. That's the thing.
So yeah, I mean, he probably won't ever pan out. But all right, guys, listen, I appreciate you jumping in. We're going to probably do this again as we get closer to the maybe after the combine or something like that. As things change, we get more information. So guys, I want to thank you all for participating, and we'll see everyone next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.